I don't think I ever really finished my thought about, shit, I just forgot again.
Hey, this is Megan.
And Sue in the restricted section.
And today we are coming at you with another Broads with Beer.
Yep. And we're getting a little serious with this one.
A little bit.
Yeah, we thought we'd talk about, you know, all these like sex abuse, sexual assault scandals that have been coming out recently in Hollywood.
Yeah, we thought we'd kind of put our 2 cents in for this one. And since you need a beer if you're going to talk about sexual assault.
We're going to need a beer.
We've got...
How the fuck do you say that?
Zellige.
Is that Zellige? Zellige?
Zellige?
Sure.
It's a Moroccan coffee stout.
Yeah.
From Four Hands.
Mm-hmm. And it says it's brewed with coffee, cinnamon, ginger, nutmeg, cardamom, black pepper, and sea salt.
Sounds good to me.
And it's from Four Hands Brewing. Cheers.
That's really good.
Really tasty. Yeah.
I smelled it before I tasted it, which I think like complimented it because it's
It would probably be good to like pour in a glass. And
like a fancy tulip glass or something.
Yeah, it's really good.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can really taste like every individual flavor, I feel like.
Yeah, all the things you listed I can taste. That's really, really good.
That is really good.
It's delightful.
I'm really into that. Yeah, let's get into this topic. As you all probably know, there's been Harvey Weinstein came out that he
is a fucking gross ass creep. Yeah. And that I feel like started an avalanche of men in Hollywood being called out for sexual assault.
It's a bad thing that this happened, of course, but I think it's good that it's being called out now and saying, and that these men are, you know, facing consequences, whether or not they're actually, you know, tried by law or anything. I'm sure they won't be, but it's affecting their careers and it's showing that like this isn't okay to do.
Right. There are consequences to doing this, to making that choice.
I think it's really sad that this is such a huge thing in Hollywood.
Yeah, it's really sad that it's that prevalent, but like we were talking about this earlier, and I said I feel like when you give someone who has a life of privilege behind them power and riches, then what do you I mean, shit is going to happen. You've got white men with a whole life of privilege behind them, and now they've got all of this power, all of this money, and I feel like, I mean, obviously not every person would do this.
So it's not like that's an excuse in any way.
No,
like there's plenty of rich white men who are
like
nice
that.
people.
But I feel like if you're that type of person anyway, you know what I mean? Like if you have that inclination, you know, if you're an abuser anyway, and then you have all of this power thrust upon you, then that's what you're going to victimize people.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't want it to sound like I'm excusing it, because I'm not saying like, well, of course I did that, but like, I mean, if you have the inclination to abuse human beings, then if you're given a bunch of power in a gift basket, then you're going to abuse human beings and victimize them.
It's really upsetting that it's like taken this long.
Yeah.
For it to, because I mean, how many women have said that Harvey Weinstein did this to them?
Well, and it was like an open secret in Hollywood that everybody joked about.
Everyone knew about it.
And people made jokes
and no one
about
did anything
it. And
about
no one
it.
did a fucking thing about it.
Which is ridiculous.
Right, that's fucked
up.
And
then it, you know, the stuff that's come out about Kevin Spacey, where he, you know, sexually assaulted a 14-year-old boy. And then several young men, I mean, I think they were at least not children, but still, you know, men who were much younger than him, who worked with him on House of Cards, also came forward and said that he sexually harassed them. And so, yeah, it's not just women who are dealing with this either.
Right.
But it is, we kind of talked about this earlier, that it seems like it's been taken more seriously when it's coming from men. Because Kevin Spacey immediately, like, House of Cards was canceled. He, you know, like, it immediately had, you know,
dramatic repercussions to his career, his current projects.
Whereas people have, like we said, been, this is an open secret about Harvey Weinstein, and it took this fucking long for anything to be done about it.
Right.
And there's been multiple cases of this happening to women, but it's also happened to men, and Because, I mean, Corey Feldman,
Yeah,
many years ago, came out and said that he was abused, sexually abused by many people in Hollywood when he was a child. And no one cared. No one did anything about it.
Right.
And now he's coming back and trying to...
Hey guys, remember when I said that this fucked up shit happened to me?
That really makes me sad too, because, like, I mean, Corey Feldman, it seems to me like he definitely has some, like, mental health issues.
Yeah.
And it's like, of course he does.
Traumatized.
Of course he does. And then also Corey Haim, who he said was also sexually abused, he overdosed, right? And died. And it's like...
He was traumatized.
Of course, he was traumatized, so he turned to drugs to try to forget all the shit that happened to him as a child. And it's taken this long. How old is Corey Feldman now? 40 or something? Like, at least in his 30s?
Yeah, he's got to be in his 40s.
Yeah, like, it's been that long before someone's finally
taking him
fucking
seriously.
listening to him.
Well, and how hard is it for, like, sexual assault victims to come out and, like, actually tell their story in the first place? And then when you finally do...
And people don't believe you.
Right, then what does that tell you?
Or they just don't care, which I feel like was maybe the case with him. Was that they were just
people
like
whatever. That's part of growing up in Hollywood. Sorry about you, kid. You know,
which is ridiculous.
Yeah, but that's a whole power differential thing, because historically, like, Hollywood has been a white male machine, right? And so, like, for women and children trying to break in to Hollywood, I feel like there's this tremendous, like, power differential between them and, like, the white men who typically run the show. And so, again, you've got white men with a lifetime of privilege behind them and this huge power differential, and bam, they prey on the weak.
Yeah.
That's fucked up.
Yeah.
You want to succeed in this industry? Well, here's what you do.
Yeah.
I'm going to take advantage of you. Like, that's really fucked up.
Yeah, so I really hope that Corey Feldman comes back and destroys all these people.
I hope he does. I'm rooting for him.
Who did that shit to him.
Because that's real fucked up.
Yeah.
Kevin Spacey. I got more to say about Kevin Spacey. I feel like it's really fucked up that he chose to identify as a gay man when he was accused of sexually assaulting a child.
That was fucked up.
Because
like, his whole apology almost caused more backlash, because he was like,
I'm gay.
Well, I don't remember doing that, but if I did, sorry. Also, I'm gay. Like, what?
That's incredibly fucked up, because being gay and sexually assaulting children are totally unrelated.
Exactly.
They are not even remotely in the same family of things.
So that was, like, really a negative thing for the gay community.
Absolutely.
But also it was a non-apology, because he was like, well, I don't remember if I did that, but if I did, sorry about it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Come on. Like, what the fuck is that? That'd be like, that's fucked up. It's fucked up. Well, and the research shows, like, studies have shown that, like, the actual amount of false claims of sexual assault are minute. Like, they're tiny. They're insignificant.
Yeah.
So it pisses me off when people are like, oh, she's probably lying. Oh, he's probably lying.
But I feel like those cases get more publicity.
Probably.
Because, like, recently here in our area, a teenage girl falsely accused someone of, like, kidnapping and raping her, I think.
Right.
And that was all over the news. But you don't hear about I'm sure, many cases of women actually getting raped.
Assaulted, yeah.
Which, I mean, in some ways makes sense, because, like, I'm sure those women don't want it plastered everywhere either. Like, that's not really generally something that you want to, like, see in the news after, you know what I mean?
Broadcast that,
Yeah, so that makes sense, but it's like I feel like those kinds of stories where it is someone falsely accusing get more publicity than the cases where it's legitimate, which is most cases.
Yeah. But I think it's just because we're so conditioned to think, like, well, surely that wouldn't happen. Surely he wouldn't do that. Surely, you know, I think we're just so conditioned to...
But the thing is that it happens so much.
All the time. What is it, like 1 in 5 women?
I think so.
Yeah, have been sexually assaulted.
Like, I feel lucky that I've, like, and that's sad.
You have been, though. Like,
I have been. I mean, I have been sexually assaulted.
I
I think pretty much every woman has probably been sexually assaulted in some way, shape, or form.
Right.
But, like, I've never been raped.
No.
And I feel lucky that I've never been raped, and that's sad.
That is
I
sad.
feel lucky.
That's very sad. And it's sad to me, too, that, like, this whole, like, culture where they can't come forward. Like, that whole, like, well, why didn't they say something sooner? Because when women do say something, people don't believe them.
Yeah.
And there's also like so much shame attached to that, which is silly because
and
if
so
anyone
much
should
victim
feel
blaming too.
Yes.
It's like, well, she was drunk, or what was
Right.
she wearing, this and that.
Oh,
like,
she
it
was
doesn't
promiscuous.
matter.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
No.
You can be raped by your own husband.
Yeah.
That can happen.
Right. Because people have difficulty accepting that like women have autonomy over their bodies.
Yeah.
My body is not yours. My body is not anyone else's. It is mine.
Right.
And I hold the lock and key to my body.
Yeah.
And if I don't want you here,
Doesn't
then
matter
don't be
if,
here.
if there's a ring on my finger or not.
No, it doesn't matter if I've said
I
yes
say
to you
no.
before. It doesn't matter if I'm drunk. It doesn't matter. Nothing matters.
Yeah.
Except for the fact that this is mine. And if I don't want you to touch it, don't fucking touch it.
Yeah.
Like,
exactly.
but I think people have a hard time accepting that women have autonomy over their own bodies.
And I mean, recently there was this MeToo thing, and like, I know a lot of people changed it to say like, because it originally started as like as for women,
Right.
to come forward,
Right.
and tell their stories, or just, you know, not even have to tell it, just say Me Too, to just show how many women that this happens to, which is, I firmly believe that unless you're like someone who is agoraphobic or something and stays in their house 24/7 and never sees men.
I think every woman has probably been.
Every woman has
Yeah.
probably been,
Sexually
whether it's
assaulted.
just being catcalled walking down the street, which, I mean, is a not exactly sexually assault, I wouldn't say.
It's
but
sexual harassment.
It's sexual harassment.
Right. It's
So
unwanted
yeah,
sexual
whether you've
attention.
been catcalled, whether like someone's touched you inappropriately, whether
Which,
you know, like
yeah, I feel like that happens to most women.
Yeah.
Being touched inappropriately.
Yeah,
I
for
mean,
sure.
if you ever go out anywhere,
yeah,
I mean, I've been touched inappropriately many times. And
Yeah.
I know, you know,
even
you
just
have
like
too.
I
Yeah.
mean, at work, I think it happens to women a lot at work. Like I know that it happened to me. I'm not sure that anyone ever touched me inappropriately at Bass Pro, but like we were working in like a male-dominated environment there, and there was, I mean, sexual harassment was rampant.
I was harassed. Like you were there one of the times I was
Oh
sexually
yeah,
harassed.
one of the leads there would
Yeah.
sexually harass pretty much every female
Yeah.
in the warehouse, and there was a creepy old man who would sexually harass, and he would touch.
He did touch us
He
inappropriately.
would touch women inappropriate because he would give people shoulder rubs, unwanted shoulder
Unwanted
rubs.
sensual massages.
And he said probably the most inappropriate thing that any man has
Yeah.
ever said to me. Perhaps the most inappropriate. I would think.
that it's pretty.
And
up there.
he's like a 70-year-old man,
Yeah.
probably. And
And
it
we
was, you
had
know,
a-
while I was at work. And the guy, the lead, who sexually harassed everyone, was the only one who overheard it. And even he was disgusted by it and
Yeah.
was like, oh
Ew.
my God.
Well, and our lead said some really inappropriate things to us. Do you remember that? He told us we could jello wrestle over the good work.
Oh, yeah. He just was, I think he was just really bad at making jokes.
That was
like, I'm almost not,
inappropriate.
I mean, it was inappropriate, but I don't know that his intention was like
That was
sexual
gross.
harassment, or if he was just so awkward, and because he was just a very awkward person and didn't know how to like socially interact with people.
That was super gross, though.
Yeah.
Ugh. But yeah, so I think it happens to a lot of women, and I think that we live in a culture that's kind of made it okay.
Yeah, but I think recently it's been, because there was a lot of things that until recently it didn't even register to me that those things were inappropriate, or that it was like sexual harassment, because it's just we're so conditioned, I think,
Right.
to think that that's normal.
Right.
And it hasn't, I think recently it has been coming out more that like this stuff isn't okay.
No.
And I think that's a really good thing. And I honestly think that it's kind of because of Donald Trump that this is happening,
That's
which
fair.
I think is like one kind of good thing that is coming out of his presidency, is that people are like, I can't fucking believe that we elected this man who said he would grab women by the pussy.
Yeah.
We elected this man
He's
who's a sexual predator. And so people are like, this is ridiculous and I'm not going to stand for this anymore. And so people are coming out and saying like, this isn't okay.
But he remains president.
But he remains president,
Right.
which is still really fucked up
Right.
and sends a really bad message. But people are like fighting back and saying like, no, you can't.
Right.
These powerful men can't do this to us anymore.
Right.
Which I think is a very good thing.
I think so. But I think, like, what scares me is that there are men who are like, well, I'm afraid to even flirt with women now because I don't want to be... And I'm like, you know what?
If you can't flirt without sexually harassing people,
then don't. Then don't.
Yeah.
Stay home.
Exactly. Like, you can definitely flirt with people without sexually harassing them or sexually assaulting them.
Or making them uncomfortable.
It's not that hard.
Right.
And when a woman says, no, I'm not interested,
accept it.
Leave her alone.
And go away. Go away.
Yeah.
Here's the deal. A good measure of, am I coming across appropriately? Are you making her uncomfortable? Like, if you're making her uncomfortable, you're doing it wrong.
Yeah.
Does she look like she wants to run away from you? You're doing it wrong. Does she have an emergency phone call? You're doing it wrong. Mm-hmm. Like, leave her alone.
Exactly.
Leave her alone.
And then when a woman just flat out says, no, I don't want to date you, I don't want you to buy me a drink, whatever, just accept it.
Like, all right,
don't keep hounding her.
Have a good night.
Don't get pissed off.
No.
Just accept it and move on with your life.
Just carry on. Have a good night. See you later. Done. Easy.
It's not that hard.
Nope.
Like, you don't have to take it as a personal attack.
Right.
Maybe she has a boyfriend. Maybe she's just not interested in dating right now. Maybe you're not her type.
Right. That's
nothing
not
wrong
a big
with
deal.
any
Of those things.
You're probably someone else's type.
Right.
Unless you're an asshole.
And then, you know,
then you should work on that.
Right, you should work on that. But even then, there are people who like that. So, you know, whatever.
But I think there's also this idea that men think women play hard to get. And I think that, like, movies and TV, I think, like,
they
perpetuate that.
Yeah, they do.
That stereotype, which is, like, very dangerous. Because it's like, okay, yeah, some women do play hard to get. That happens.
Right.
But if a woman says no, it doesn't necessarily mean...
Try harder.
That she, it doesn't mean try harder.
Right. That's one of the biggest, like, when I was single and I was dating, that was one of the biggest turnoffs was when I said I wasn't interested, or I said no, or I said I needed space. If they kept on and kept on, that was, like, the biggest indicator to me that they were not someone I wanted to be with.
Yeah.
And there were a couple of men that I dated who were like that I asked them for space and did not get it. And I was like, okay, if you cannot respect what I need, then we're done.
Yeah. And I actually read an article, it was cracked.com, and I think it was actually... I could be wrong about this, but I think it was actually written by David Wong, who wrote John Dies at the End and all that. And it was all about how, like, why men don't understand consent. Mm-hmm. And he was talking about how all these movies that he watched as a kid told him that women want you, you just have to keep hounding them. Basically.
Ugh. And that's true, because there are movies like that.
And he used the example, he was like, just to show how pervasive this is, I'm only going to use Harrison Ford movies. Okay. Like, it was not an attack on Harrison Ford. No. It was just like, I'm only going to talk about movies Harrison Ford has starred in. Because this is how prevalent this is. That I can just choose one actor and have several movies to talk about. And, like, the main one he mentioned was Star Wars. Because he, like, I haven't seen Star Wars, but I guess he, like, kind of hounds Princess Leia and then wears her down. And, like, kind of sexually assaults her.
He mostly just treats her like shit. Like, I wouldn't necessarily say that he hounds her and wears her down, but I would say that, like, he does that whole thing where men treat women like shit because they think they like it. And it does work in the movie. Yeah.
And then, I don't remember what other Harrison Ford movies that he talked about, but there was a few others. And then he did also mention James Bond. Because there's a James Bond movie where he literally rapes Pussy Galore. And they're just, like, they're in love, whatever. But, like, he rapes her in a barn, I think.
That's real fucked up.
Yeah. And it's, like, it's basically like they're struggling, and then once he kisses her, then she's like, oh, James Bond. Oh, I give in. But it's like, no.
That's not, like...
No.
Maybe sometimes that's how it works, but, like, I think overwhelmingly that's not how it works.
No.
Like, I don't want to speak to every woman, because maybe
like,
some women...
if a woman's into that, I feel like she should say up front, like...
Ahead of time,
like, hey... I'm into this.
Right.
So
and then have a safe word. So that if you want to be done, you can be.
That's not something that you just assume
is cool.
about a woman.
No.
That's something that once you've like have a relationship or whatever,
right,
have an agreement,
right. If you've had a conversation about it,
and
right,
yeah,
right, or like periodically in the course of things, maybe check in. Is this okay? Mm-hmm. Are you into this? Are you feeling this? Like, just check in with her. And if at any point she says no, stop it. Stop doing that. Like, once it starts, it doesn't have to finish.
It's really not a difficult concept.
It's not.
But at the same time, as the article pointed out, and he wasn't at all making excuses again, he was just saying, like, this is a problem, you know, like, this is rape culture. Like, it's a thing. Mm-hmm. This is what I was taught growing up, this is what you do to get women. Right. Is either relentlessly hound them or treat them like shit. Right. Or rape them, apparently.
Right. It's deeply ingrained. But I feel like if you personalize it, if you say, like, to a man, if someone were to do this to you, would that be okay? Then they understand it all of a sudden. I read this story once about a man who was incredibly uncomfortable because he was in a cab with another man, and that other man put his hand on his knee, and he became incredibly uncomfortable. And a woman said, okay, well, now you know what it feels like to be a woman all the time, because you're afraid that that man could overpower you if you say no to him. Right. So, like, men understand it when it pertains to them, but they don't understand it when it pertains to women. Yeah. Like, it happens every day to normal, like, everyday people, but until it happens to someone famous, no one cares. Because I feel like mental health is that way. Like, until a celebrity kills themselves, no one really wants to talk about suicide awareness or, you know, mental health, making sure that you get mental health care. Like, nobody wants to talk about it. Yeah. But when it happens to someone famous, and all of a sudden now it matters. And I feel like this is kind of one of those things. And so, like, yeah, I'm kind of like hoping that all of this will make a difference and that it will mean something in the long run and it will help. But it pisses me off that, like, how many women, like regular everyday women, has this happened to? Like, how many people has this happened to? And until it happens to someone famous, we don't care. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. But my hope is that, you know, with all these famous people coming out that what they did and them facing consequences to it, that maybe it will tell other men in power, even men who aren't famous, that, like, you can't get away with this. Right. I've experienced recently, there was a man grabbed my ass. Yep. Just full on, bam, grabbed my ass. Just met him. He was drunk. But, like, a lot of people made excuses for him. Like, oh, he does that to everyone.
All the time. Yeah.
He's really a nice guy. He just when he gets drunk.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's not okay.
It's not okay.
It's not okay to do that, even when you're drunk.
Right.
But it's like, that's not...
Don't grab someone's ass.
Don't grab women's asses.
Unless, like, she's okay with it.
Yeah. And if she wants you to grab... I mean, well,
then grab that
if
ass.
she says she wants you to grab her.
Then grab her ass. Otherwise, maybe don't. Or if you would like to, perhaps ask her.
Right,
Excuse me.
first.
You have a very nice ass, ma'am. Can I please touch it?
Yeah. And it's like, it's not like that was something that traumatized me by any means.
Like, but it was not okay.
For me,
it was not appropriate.
It was fine, but it's like, if I, you know, imagine if I had been raped in the past or something and that, like, triggered something in me. Right. Like, you don't know my story.
Right. Right.
You don't just go around grabbing people's asses.
Don't grab ass.
It's not okay.
Not cool. Not cool.
And it's not like something funny to laugh off later. Oh, I was drunk. Like,
no.
Well, you know what?
Don't grab asses.
Maybe if you act like that when you're drunk, you shouldn't drink.
Right. Yeah. All I'm saying is, like, just ask a bitch first. Like, just ask. If you want to grab that ass, ask first.
Yeah.
Because, you know, I respect a lot more from somebody like, you're very pretty. I would like to touch you. Whether
and
that's...
And if I say
no... And then I
no,
can say, no, thank you. And I say, you know what? I appreciate that. Okay. And I carry on. I respect that. Yeah. That's less weird to me than someone just walking up to me and being like, hark.
Yeah.
I'm just like, this makes me tired. Like, this makes me weak.
It does. It's just...
Like, I'm tired of explaining consent. And I'm tired of explaining why this stuff is so, like, fucking dysfunctional
and I'm tired of seeing men on the internet be like, oh, stop being so whiny and like, you try fucking dealing with this day in and day out.
Right.
Like, you try being harassed when you're just trying to walk down the fucking street.
Yeah.
You know, you try, being groped when you're just trying to have a beer at the bar.
Right. That's fucked up. And like,
just because I'm in a bar doesn't
Right.
mean I'm looking to get groped. Like,
Right.
I go there to enjoy a nice beer with my friends.
Yep.
Not to get groped by dudes.
Right. And you try, like, being disrespected when you try to say anything about it. Because it's
Yeah.
like, oh, if somebody expresses interest and you're like, oh, no, I have a boyfriend, or oh, no, I'm married.
Yeah.
Immediately
People-
disregarded.
Yeah. And people, because, my boyfriend doesn't like to go out a lot. So a lot
Neither
of times
does my
when I go
husband.
out to the bar, I am by myself. Or not by myself, I'm with friends, but
Right.
my boyfriend isn't
Right.
with me. And it's, to the point where, multiple times we have pretended that we're together.
Yeah.
Because that's...
More respected.
Men respect that more than me just saying, I have a boyfriend, but he's not here.
Right.
If I
Well,
say I have
where
a
is he?
boyfriend, well, where is he? Or if I say I have a boyfriend, they proceed as if it doesn't matter.
Well, if he's not here, I won't tell him.
Yeah. And I'm
Right.
like,
I will, because, I don't want this.
Right.
I want my husband.
yeah. So it's just, ridiculous that there has to be someone
Right there.
right there for them
You
to
have
see.
to be someone's property.
Exactly.
Yeah.
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 And even it surprises me how often it works for us to just be
It
like, oh, actually, this is my
This
girlfriend.
is my girlfriend. Sorry.
That works more often than I would.
It
think
works
would.
pretty often. Yeah.
Yeah, but
We had it worked so well that for a while we had a reputation of being a lesbian
people
couple.
thought we were a
Yeah.
lesbian couple,
But
which that's fine. But
I don't have any problems with that. But
yeah, but it's also sad that I get so surprised whenever a man is nice. Because
know.
just last weekend,
Halloween, yeah, we went out for
Halloween,
Halloween.
I was out and I was talking to a guy, and it was kind of one of those awkward situations where I wasn't really sure if he was hitting on me because he was just being really nice. So I didn't want to be like,
Right.
I have a boyfriend, you know what I mean? And
Right,
we were
and
having a
jumping
nice
into that.
conversation. But then he asked me out, and I was like, oh, actually I have a boyfriend. And then he was like, oh, okay, that's cool. He was really nice about it.
Right.
And it's sad that I was really surprised and it was refreshing.
Yeah.
And that's happened one other time there. A guy offered to buy me a drink, and I said, oh no, that's okay. And he was like, are you sure? He asked me one more time, and I was like, no, that's all right, thank you.
Yeah.
And then he left me alone.
Right.
And I was like, how nice.
How nice. And that's sad.
That's so sad.
Right.
That and honestly, those are probably the only two instances that I can even think of right now where I had a nice experience
Yeah.
with nicely turning a guy down. I'm not
Yeah.
a bitch about it because that's just rude.
See, I usually am because I have so many bad experiences. I
That's
usually
true.
am a bitch.
I can see that too because
Yeah.
I've had many experiences too where my go-to is usually I have a boyfriend because I do.
Right.
I'm not lying.
I'm not looking.
And that's
I'm
to
not
me, that's
single.
the nicest way to turn
Right.
someone down is to be sorry, I have a boyfriend. Mm-hmm. And I've had so many experiences where the guy is just an asshole about
Yes.
it. Doesn't believe me, thinks I'm
Right.
lying. It's even if I am lying, I'm clearly not interested.
Right.
So leave me alone.
So go away. Right. One
Yeah.
of my good friends, I have a friend who, he and I went on 2 dates. And then I told him hey, I think I need some space. I don't really think I'm interested. And he was super cool about it. We didn't talk again until I gave the go ahead to talk again.
Yeah.
And he was incredibly respectful. That's the only time that's ever happened to me.
Yeah. It's sad that it's you can
That's it.
count on one hand the
Yeah.
number of positive experiences.
Right.
I don't know. It's just ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
It is. It's
And
hard.
it's
hard.
I get so angry when I see and just denying that it's a problem and saying, well, we're being too sensitive, we're snowflakes,
Liberal snowflakes.
liberal snowflakes, fuck off.
Or you're a fucknut. Just accept that you're a fuckstick and move on.
Yeah. But anyway, we
Anyway.
should wrap this up because my battery's dying.
This beer is awesome. We really like
Yeah,
it.
it's really delicious.
It's delightful.
If you can find it, I would definitely recommend it. It's really good.
Four Hands makes good beer though.
If you got anything to add to this conversation,
Comment.
comment below.
Yep.
There'll be links below. You can find us other places on the internet.
If you're not already subscribed to the restricted section, you should do it.
And we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.